So I'm Hugh Lloyd. I'm a GP in Old Colwyn on the North Wales coast. A senior partner there, and I've been in practice for getting on for 31 years now. But perhaps more relevantly for this interview, I'm chairman of the core group of WaMH.
First of all, Hugh, perhaps you could start by telling us who WaMH are. Not everyone may know very much about WaMH.
I mean, I'd love to think that everybody in Wales in primary care knew what WaMH stood for, but it's Wales Mental Health in Primary Care Network. We're a network that's been established for some years now, and as the name suggests, our main interest is in promoting primary care mental health in Wales. And we've, as I say, been going for some time, and we've got a whole range of people who are associated with the network.
So tell me about the members of the network then.
Well, I suppose strictly speaking, we don't have members in the sense of people signing up, paying a subscription, thing like that. But effectively, anybody who's interested in primary care mental health can be a member. So that's GPs, practice nurses, practice managers, other members of the primary care team, but also others like primary care mental health practitioners, people from third sector, HAFAL and MIND, they're very actively supportive with us. Then there are other people who work for the local health boards. We have some representation from psychiatry and so forth. So it's wide representation, and people just become a member by saying, well, I want to come along to your conference, or I want to look at your website, and I subscribed to the sort of principles that you have, which is to promote good primary care mental health in Wales.
Would you outline the work that WaMH does?
Well, we started off really by doing conferences, and we still do conferences. But we also then thought, well, it'd be a good idea to set up a website, and I think if people want to know more, a very good way of finding out more about WaMH would be to visit our website. We've had a number of bursaries over the years where we award sums of money up to £5,000 for people to carry out small projects to do with good quality primary care mental health issues. And for example, one of the things probably most people will be familiar with is the bibliotherapy scheme. And that was subject to one of our first bursaries. We made an award for that, and that then has been rolled out across Wales. We also have other plans through what we call the Gold Standard programme, where we hope to improve the standard of care and raise awareness of primary care mental health issues.
How is the group trying to make a difference in Wales?
Well, the first thing is to understand what the sort of philosophy behind it all. That is, I think that many people sadly will say, well, mental health is not really my thing. I don't have to take a great interest in it. I would challenge that, because actually mental health issues are important to all of us, not just in primary care, but everybody in Wales. I mean, whether it's about mental illness, 1 in 4 people in Wales will suffer from mental health problems during their life, or just mental well-being, which is vitally important. It has such an impact not just on how we feel in ourselves, but also on our physical health. So we're trying to raise awareness about the importance of mental health. And we're trying to give people the skills and the knowledge and understanding to help deal with problems that arise and to promote good mental well-being. So it's a broad programme of an approach. I think it's a wide-ranging thing that we're looking at, not just people who tend to fall under the care of secondary care services, but also those who would never get to secondary care services. Remember, 90% of mental health problems are dealt with in primary care. And also to look at mental health promotion and the mental well-being of communities. So it's a pretty broad remit, and perhaps fairly ambitious, but I think it's one worth going after.
Some of the things that you're saying suggest that this is about more than just primary care. I understand that you've produced some sort of declaration. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yes, we was thinking about what we were doing and why we were doing it, and the result of this thinking came up with a small document called the Welsh Declaration for Mental Health and Wellbeing, which we produced in February 2007, and we are still promoting this document, and if you're interested in reading it, it's on our website. It is about recognising that mental health and well-being is an issue for everybody in Wales, from whether it be the Welsh Assembly Government, through local health boards, local authorities, education, and so forth, right down to communities and individuals. Now, obviously, as WaMH, we can't take on everything, but we're calling on other people to join us in trying to promote good mental health in Wales. But we have directed our thinking towards one particular aspect, and that is the gold standard programme for primary care mental health.
Would you explain about the gold standard programme and what sort of difference you hope it will make?
Well, the gold standard programme is aimed at raising awareness, removing stigma, and giving people the knowledge, the skills, and so forth to raise the standard of care in primary care and mental health in Wales to a world standard, a gold standard. And it's marked out by having three particular qualities, or hallmarks as we call them. The three hallmarks are particularly important, and these are things that identify the programme as being person-centred, full of trust and good communication. And these things that drive it along. So,
these three hallmarks, are they very important?
Very important. Well, a lot of the time I think people will be aware that when people are being dealt with by the NHS, it is sometimes more service-orientated than it is orientated towards the individual. So we need to get a focus on being aware of individuals' needs. Now, this is not just about the person with an illness. There's any individual sitting in front of you, so it could be a colleague, it might be a carer. But the thing is to think, well, what are we doing that's going to help them? And not think, how can we fit them into the service we provide? So that's what person-centeredness is about. And I think that is a very key part. And I have to say, I don't think actually it's just for people who are dealing with mental health problems. You could translate that throughout the health service. And then trust is extremely important. If we cannot develop trust between ourselves as service providers and those who we care for, or between each other, knowing that if I say something to somebody that they can trust what I'm saying is true and that I'll follow it up, and that they can believe in my ability to keep confidentiality, that if I ask a colleague to do something for me, I'm not just using them, I'm working with them. These are elements I think that are also very important, and therefore that is the second hallmark. So we've got the person-centeredness, trust, and then finally the third one, which is about communication.
Let's talk about communication and why this is so important in the work that you're doing in primary care.
Well, I think, once again, this is not something that people would say is exclusive to mental health care. I think we all recognise how absolutely vital in terms of caring for people communication is. Whether it's communication between me as your doctor and you as my patient, or between me as a doctor and another doctor and so forth. We cannot provide a good service unless we communicate well. And of course, communication has lots of different facets, doesn't it? I mean, in terms of communicating with patients, it's talking a language they understand, saying things that are meaningful to them, getting them on board and thinking, yes, this person is concerned about me, I can build up trust with them, therefore, I can communicate properly. And it's about working in teams. So, if we're primary care is very much a team-orientated work, isn't it? And if we don't communicate well, then we can lose so much. And I think sometimes we have so many barriers to communications about, because we have things like we must fill in this form in a particular way, we must do this, and it isn't necessarily productive. Now, I'm not against forms, I'm not saying you can't have referrals, but you need to make them so that they are meaningful. And this is where sort of communication there comes in that sense, and that good communication between professionals is vital. So whether we're referring somebody or receiving information about how they're going to be cared for. And communication in a broader sense. How do we communicate with our communities? How to communicate with those who want to volunteer to help? The third sector, huge resource, really useful, but how well are we communicating with them? How much do we know about what they're doing, and how much do we tell them about what we need? And how do we help that our patients communicate with other groups, self-help groups and so forth. So communication, again, is an absolute vital part of any program. And I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I think it's perfectly true to say the 3 hallmarks could be and maybe should be applied to all care in the NHS in Wales.
A lot of GPs and their staff might say, we're already really busy and the issues that we deal with are very complex. How are these 3 hallmarks going to fit into their already busy working lives? How are they going to help them?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that being busy doesn't stop you using the 3 hallmarks, because in fact they can enable a better approach. And a lot of the approach we have now to these complex issues is to say, well, we'll make them fit the way we wish to work. Or I won't bother to communicate with that person because actually that's going to take time. It might cut time, it might cut corners initially, but in the overall scheme of things, I think it's actually very wasteful. And if we use the 3 hallmarks, we improve the approach, we have better teamwork, and more importantly, we're more likely to get an outcome which will suit our patients, suit the people we're trying to care for. So I'd say, it's more a way in which you approach things. It's not asking you to do more, it's asking you to do something differently. And differently, I think, if you stop and think about it, patient-centered, trust, communication, it really doesn't need any thinking about. It must work. It's just getting up that frame of mind into which we follow that pattern. And yes, that can be difficult when you're busy, but I think if we keep on practicing it, it'll come.
This DVD is part of the Gold Standards programme. What else are we going to see coming out over the next year or so?
Well, the things we've been talking about so far, the person-centeredness, trust, communication, the 3 hallmarks, are approaches, ideas, they're sort of visions. I want to say that we're going to be doing some more pragmatic, practical stuff, things that people can use. Some people may have already received some of our information sheets that we're producing, which are 1 or 2 sides of A4 with key facts about important current issues like dementia or suicide and self-harm risk mitigation, mental health in the workplace, and that sort of thing. And these information sheets, I hope people find will be useful because they'll have some key facts and they'll also have links to more detailed material. So people can look, say, on our website or on other hyperlinks to find out more detail. We'll also be running courses and seminars, and probably there will be other DVDs to follow this one. There's a whole range of ways in which we'll be providing skills and materials and educational stuff for people. And we're working with the LHBs, the Deanery, and others to make sure that this educational programme reaches everybody across the whole of Wales.
We look forward to more of this material coming out over the next few months and years. And it looks as though the future of WaMH is going to be a valuable one.
I hope people will look out for the material as it comes along. I think they'll find it useful. We really want people to feedback the comments, and if they think it's good, to let us know. If they've got suggestions of things we should do, we're really interested to hear. Because this network is for everyone, and really look forward to people finding it of use and support, and we hope we achieve the aim of improving the standard of primary care mental health to the highest limits possible.